or subsequently I've done a podcast in relation to that with the gentleman I kidnapped, but that's probably another question. I'm going off the patch here a little. So I went away into the unit then. I spent, funny enough, 14 and a half months seems to come up a lot with me. So I did about 14 and a half months again in the unit. Maybe a bit longer, I have to give that some thought. Yeah, it was 14 and a half months, 2 trials, hung jury in the first trial and convicted on the second. The first trial, the original suspect was acquitted. He was kept in prisons up and down the country, having police visits. Factual, I've got all this material in my book, Fitted Up and Fighting Back. It's been out now going on 5 years, and there's never been one black order on it, which means a restricting order on what you can and can't say. The police have never asked for any of that material to be removed. My book is now subject to legal consideration with the Criminal Cases Review Commission, in that I met with a leading figure, a judge, and the judge has come forward and said that he's met with me, and he advised me to attach my book to the application on its own, on its own merit, should I say. However, so all the details in that book are factually correct, and it sets out my arrest, how I was convicted with the material and what happened. So I had a co-defendant at the time that was working with his police handler to fabricate a case around me, and his charges would be dropped, and a deal was done where his charges would be dropped, and that's what happened. And then I was sentenced to life imprisonment. The police asked for 30 years. At that time, that was a massive sentence, Sarah.
Wow.
Yeah, 30 years. I thought, blimey, I'll start calculating in your head, I'm not going to get out till. And they asked for a recommendation, which means you will serve a minimum of that, and then once you've served that, you will then be released. So I thought, bloody, if they give me 30 years, it's not looking good for me. In fact, I'll still be in prison now.
Yeah.
And then they look to send you home once you've served that sentence. So from that, 3 years later, I'd been taken out of the special secure units, or high security units, prison within a prison, and placed on the main population of the high security estate within like Whitemoor prison. I was going down to get my evening meal. There was an SO there, he was a right bleeding arsehole. Lane, I've got something for you. I thought, what do you want? And he gave me my tariff. Well, the tariff means it's come from, if you get a sentence in open court, that's a recommendation from a judge, and then it gets signed off by the Home Secretary. However, I didn't get a recommendation in open court. I got what's called a tariff, which means you can beat the tariff. You can be going home on your tariff, but very few people do. I mean, it's an exception for that, but it's a far better sentence. And he gave me this piece of paper, and it said 18 on it. And I went, what a result. And then he looked at me thinking, are you sure? I thought, well, I was thinking I was going to get 30 or 25 along those lines. There's a massive difference. To think that the margins have been moved massively. So I got the 18-year sentence. I served 20. But I only got released anyway as a result of some paperwork came to light, and it was sent to my solicitor through an anonymous source, and it came from the police files. During that, it was publicised by the Guardian newspaper. A great supporter of mine, Duncan Campbell and Nick Hopkins, covered many case articles on me, and Jamie Dowd of the Guardian. The late, great Duncan Campbell, that is, he married to Julie Christie, the actor. He passed away a little while ago, and it's a sad loss to a lot of people. He campaigned for me massively. So the Guardian covered my case, and they said about anonymous documents come to light, cast doubt over my conviction. As a result of that, I had the prison directorate standing outside my cell, Danny McAllister, big Scotsman, man's man he was. And he used to. I liked him. He would lambast you, staff. If they was in the wrong, and he would stand his ground and come and see you on his own without a squad of men around him. A real man. In the high security estate, you've got to have some balls to do that, and be confident in yourself and how you deal with people. And he did, and I liked him. And he always called me Kevin, the director of states. And I said, "Oh, how you doing, Daddy?" And he said, "I'm all right, Kevin. I've come to ask you about this paperwork, questioning your conviction." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Yeah, they're correct. But I've come to tell you," he said, "I've put something in place in relation to your categorisation." I'm thinking, oh no, I'm going back up the ladder to AAA. They want to know how come I've managed to get this paperwork out of the police files whilst I was in prison. So they're saying you can reach out. 16 days later, I was downgraded and chucked out the high security estate. I couldn't believe it. I thought, what a touch. Well, I didn't think I was going anywhere for years.
Yeah. So take us back. The day of the arrest. The day when the verdict. Let's go to when the verdict came out.
Well, the day of the arrest, I was arrested at home very quickly. Armed police surrounded the house, come out. And I opened the window, so I'll be out in a minute. They went, "Get away from the window, get away from the window." Did
you know?
Well, I've been out there. They lit the house up like a football pitch. I'm laughing about it. I'm laughing about me being stupid enough to go to the window, put my arm out. They could have thought I could have had a gun. I said, "I'll be out in a minute." And I thought, I'm not going to come through the front. Because they phoned up. And the phone just went straight into answer machine. And they phoned again, it did the same. So they didn't want to come through the front door. In their eyes, in case I did have a gun. Because I remember saying to them, I said, "Anyone comes through my front door," I said, "they're getting it." You know, as in, I ain't going to be waiting around for them. I'll be getting stuck into them. I've got kids in the house. And then that's why they never came through my front door, but they phoned me up. So then I was arrested, found guilty after a second trial by a hung jury again. Majority 10-2. Court 2 of the Old Bailey, which is a high security court. The jury came back, and I always remember looking at the juryman thinking, "You're old Bill, you are." And I'll tell you why I say that, because the corrupt police officer, Christopher Spackman, in my case, he knew the split of the jury in the first trial, which he should not know, because everything that happens within the jury room is sacrosanct. It's confidential. Well, he went up to my solicitor in the corridor and said the split of the jury is 8-4. Well, how did he know that? So I see him came in, and there was some people were looking down, and that's not a good sign when they're looking down. You know, if they're all looking at you, something like that. I've had a few not guilties, me, and they're all looking at you, and I'm saying, "No, I'm not being no angel." Yeah. But you start to pick up the signs. They came back with a guilty, and I turned to the jury and said, "You've made a terrible mistake. I never done that. I never done this," I said. And then I looked at the judge and said, "How long have I got to do?" Strange question, really. Like I've got a habit of taking the bull by the horns. I want to know how long are you going to sentence me to, I suppose. And he said, "Take him down, take him down." Well, I'm glad he didn't answer me, because if he'd have answered me, it would have been a recommendation in open court, wouldn't it? So, take him down and took me down, and I waited 3 years for my sentence to be handed down to me.
Wow.
3 years on New Year's Eve.